Welcome to Swift Coaches Academy, a podcast dedicated to bringing exercise and health professionals the uncensored truth behind what it really takes to succeed in the health industry with me, your host, Zenia Wood. As an accredited exercise physiologist and the founder of Swift Coaches Academy with almost a decade of experience, I'm on a mission to transform the lives of ambitious health professionals who want more and are ready to take action to create incredible impact and financial freedom. So join me as I speak candidly with industry leaders about the struggles and successes from within the trenches through thought-provoking conversations.
Today, Zenia's conversation is with Luke Glacken, an incredible business mind who leads with a people-first approach. He was Zenia's first ever business mentor when she was just a sole trader, before Swift Movement Academy even existed, and now is the director and exercise scientist behind the Movement Standard. If you're looking to lead a team and grow a business, this episode has some great insights for you.
Hello, Luke Glacken in the house. How are you?
Hey, Zen, I'm great. Thanks. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. Long time since you and I have caught up.
It has. It's been ages, hey?
Why don't we take it back to how we met? And I guess let's go your journey of evolution over the past couple of decades now, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, firstly, thanks for having me on today. But yeah, right back to when we met. It's it would have been a while ago now. I reckon it would have been like maybe 6 or 7 years ago, maybe even more. Obviously we met working together in Brisbane. I think you were still coming up the ranks back then, but no, I was lucky enough to work alongside you. I think I was working in a business operations role, and yeah, you were one of the new EPs coming through. Very impressive, and obviously learning your way. And yeah, I think we formed a pretty good working relationship, and yeah, kept in touch ever since that. So obviously you've gone on to do some pretty big and exciting things, and it's been pretty impressive watching it on the sidelines, and yeah, having a bit of a part to play in that at the start's been really exciting. But yeah, my journey over the last few years. So where do you want to start, mate?
So what did you graduated from uni when, and then just like I guess the role changes.
Yeah, right. So I graduated from university. I reckon it would have been about 12 years ago now. That makes me sound really bloody old. So I did exercise science. It was called human movements back in the day. And I also did a number of units of business at the time. From there, I worked in both the regional, moving up to state, and then finally a national role with, at the time, it was Go Health Clubs. And then later it merged into Good Life, which was a very rewarding experience. Definitely a type of environment where you had to kind of think fast on your feet, and Go at the time was a relatively new brand, and I was just really blessed to be given that opportunity to kind of work alongside some great mentors there, and learn my craft, especially from a business skill set. And then off the back of, I guess, working in that realm and learning, I guess, the ins and outs of the business side of the fitness and then the allied health industry in turn, I moved down to Melbourne for a little while. Worked for a company down there on helping them set up multiple sites. That was another gym organization at the time, but they've recently, or when I was there, delved into more allied health and reformer Pilates as of late. Then the opportunity came knocking to come back to Brisbane, which I'm very, very thankful that I was given, and came back here. And I guess that was where we met. And I was able to kind of combine my passion for X science and sports with some knowledge and some decent experience and education in business. And was in Brisbane working for, I reckon it would have been maybe 3 years. Once again, through travels, was lucky enough to meet the partners that I have now, business partners in Aaron Whitecross and Simon Bell. And then here we are today. We're 4 years into my own venture, the Movement Standard, and all things going well.
And it is going really well. And just to, I guess, give credit where credit's due. Like, I mean, you and I guess the Movement Center and Swift Movement Academy, for just out of I don't know, I guess coincidence, literally was formed almost at the same time. I kind of had, whispers of things that I was doing earlier than that, but us both branching out from where we met at the same company, and obviously that's where Simon and Aaron were as well, and then all at once deciding to split and both create our own things. And it's kind of cool to see, we have the same, I guess, duration of journey running our own businesses. Obviously you have far more experience than I do, and I think you having Simon and Aaron as exercise physiologists to be part of your team, I realized that I needed someone on my team too, so that's why I got my business manager, Claire. But what I think I really love about you, and what I think made our relationship so strong when you were, operations manager or COO feels very dulled down of what I think you were to me, because it was the first person who, in a business sense, was really there to support me and was the one who was backing me on my journey. And I think I don't give enough credit for that. And as we know, this it was never a good meeting with you if there weren't tears when I walked out of it. And I know that sounds really weird, but like, it really, I don't know, I just felt really supported. And I think what I love about you is the fact that I don't know how you do it, and so I want to dive into it, but like your leadership abilities to be able to draw that out of people and to get to like the bottom of what they really want in their life and where they're going. And so I guess who did you learn that from? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, sure. Well, let's give all of your loyal listeners a little bit of context for all of those out there tuning in. They were happy tears. It was never it was never a bad meeting.
Yes.
No, look, thank you for that wrap, and I think that you might be giving me a little bit too much credit there, because you yourself, and this isn't I guess an ego stroking contest or anything like that, but you always had it in you. Like, you were always destined to go on and do massive things. And as you said right back at the start, if I can just duck back for a second, it was, I guess, coincidental. We both went off in our own, I guess, separate journeys at around about the same time. Obviously similar fields, but having said that, I think that the two business types, being Swift Movement and being TMS, they've forged their own pathway. So it's been exciting watching it from afar. And like I said, I'm exceptionally impressed with what you've done, and I guess the strides that you've taken in your business. But if we get back into kind of those meetings right at the very start, like I said, I was put into an environment where I was really lucky to have had exposure to a lot of different individuals. And if you kind of take the actual craft of exercise, or exercise physiology, dietetics, physiotherapy out of it, and you actually just look at the person, I guess where I found it wasn't so much a niche, but where I could kind of benefit the individual was probably just listening, to be fair. And I think that you would know this yourself now, being a business owner. The more time that you can spend with somebody and actually listen to the things that they're saying, a lot of the time you don't even need to give them an answer. It's just giving them an opportunity to kind of say what's on their mind. And a lot of the time they have the answer that's already there. It's just asking the right questions in order to lead them to that what can be an obvious answer at times. For somebody like yourself, you were definitely in that category, mate. You came in and you always had 3 million things on your mind, and you wanted to express it all at once. And I remember right at the very start of your journey, you were definitely in panic mode. Everything needed to be done now, and it was always worst case scenario. But you always had the ability to get yourself out of whatever situation was in, and you always had these big ideas. And a lot of the time it was just maybe giving you the right trajectory to go on in order to actually achieve your goals, and to triage what was the most pressing thing at the time, and then work back from there. So as I said, I think that you've given me a lot more credit than what's actually due there. I think that providing a safe environment was 80% of the job, and then actually letting the person show their brilliance, that was all you guys. So that was how I feel like we went about it. To be fair, I guess exposure and once again, kind of delving back into the types of audiences that I was able to capture throughout my journey as well probably helped a little bit. Working in a gym environment, I mean, you can get your big alpha egos 1 minute and then follow up with your introverts, and then you follow it up the next time by your little passion project. So the more time that you can spend around different individuals and get to understand them, and then to be put into different working environments where you're given trust and you're given the freedom to hone your craft and to let those people kind of grow. That was the key. It was really just getting to know the individual and then moving forward from there.
I love that. What was I going to say? Is there anything that you did to educate yourself on any sort of leadership, or is this all just been like on the fly, like you just have always been great at reading people?
I wouldn't say that I'm great at reading people. Once again, I think it comes back to kind of that exposure and more so the experience, and the more people that you sit in front of and the more that you can listen, the more that you can learn. I'd love to sit here and say that it was all natural and it just and I guess the successes that I've had in my career are due to just luck or something like that, but it does come down to a little bit of work. I've been blessed over my career where I've been in the right place at the right time, and I've been given exposure to some fantastic mentors throughout my time. That was probably one of the biggest influences that I've had right at the start when I was going through university and thought I knew everything. I had no need or a want, I should say, to have a mentor, to listen to anybody else's opinion because I knew best. But as soon as the penny dropped, that I was definitely not down that route, and I started to pay attention to what other people were saying, and then being around people such as, but without going into too much detail, like Nicky Dean and your Dan Crosses of the world. Those have been two really influential men that I've had exposure to, that have taught me different management styles, have taught me different ways to look at different situations, have taught me how to deal with people and to understand that everybody that sits in front of you is a person. They've all got, I guess, different needs, different wants. They're in different stages of their career and of their life, and that there's more to dealing with that person and that problem at hand than just, righto, what would you do, Luke? I'd say that the big thing that kind of helped me get the successes that I've had thus far has been appreciating those mentors and making sure that I've listened and I've actually paid attention to the lessons that they've given me. It's very easy to be that person in the room where you're sitting there waiting for somebody else to finish talking so that you can jump in and say something. And I'll put my hand up and say I was probably that person right at the start. But the more that I've dealt with people and the more that I've come to appreciate these mentors, they've taught me that you can add value to a conversation and you can add value to somebody's journey just by being that extra person in the room and by saying things in a different way. So that's been my biggest learning. And I think that's what's helped me to, I guess, flourish in the different roles that I've had moving forward.
I think I'm still in that boat of the wanting to jump in and having to stop, and I'm probably just a slower learner because I run at 100 miles a minute and I want to say all of the things. And
mate, I think people could say a lot about you, but going slow is not one thing that many people would associate with you, I would imagine.
I think I just have all these ideas and I want to talk about them immediately. It's an excitement thing, but realizing that as a leader, it's not actually about you anymore. And I'm coming to terms with, like, you know, when you're back working for yourself as a sole trader, it is about you, and it is you creating all of the things and you doing all of the work and all the effort. And then I've really realized that now it's me needing to highlight my team and making sure that they feel like they can shine, and I'm not sort of clouding their ability to shine and create what is going to, you know, be great for them and great for, I guess, the team as well.
Oh, exactly right. I think it was, and don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure it was like a Richard Branson quote where it's like the best way to be successful or to get success in your career is not to be the smartest person in the room, but to be surrounded by smarter people in the room. And I think that being a mentor and being an educator and being somebody that other people can confide in, that's your role. It's your role to sit there and to facilitate their dreams. Like I'm talking to you right now on Zoom, and you're literally still bouncing through the camera with passion, and that's the same Zen that I met 7-8 years ago, and things haven't changed. You've just become more successful, so you've obviously learned how to do that to some capacity, and I'm sure that those who are working under you and with you can appreciate that, and that's why they're drawn to you as well. So I think that's our role as leaders within the industry. Sometimes there's obviously that need to sit there and be like, "Oh, settle down. You're probably going a little bit too hard," and to have that harder conversation. I know that there were times that we had to sit down and probably go over some rocky things. But once again, if you've got that relationship and they can trust you and they actually listen to what you're saying because you have their best interests at hand, then it sounds all wishy-washy, but in the long term, that's what pays off.
It's like the soft skills that are actually harder to do than the hard skills in the industry, right?
Mate, nobody likes those conversations. Everybody hates them. They all avoid them. But yeah, they're a necessity.
Yeah. How do you, because we've had some challenges with this with our team, and I'm happy to have challenging conversations with people to work towards an outcome together. But how do you go about having hard conversations with people or helping them feel comfortable and confident to have hard conversations with maybe their clients, if they in themselves are not yet as comfortable as maybe we are to facilitate that? Is it like, do you role play? Do you just sort of lead by example?
I think leading by example is a big one, and like I want to get it across that I guess it's really dependent upon the type of hard conversation you need to have. I guess, and once again, that's where it comes down to that individual kind of understanding. The big thing that I've found, and it's been a learning for me over the journey, that as long as your intent is positive, regardless of whatever message that you need to get across to the individual or whatever message they need to get across to their staff, honesty and intent are the two main things. Like you can't hide from a bad situation. You can't hide from a bad scenario. You can't basically, you can't polish a turd if that makes sense. So being honest with whoever you're sitting in front of and letting them know, listen, the reality is this is the situation we're in. The reality is these are the outcomes that we need to deal with. There's nothing that either of us can do about this moving forward, but what we can do is that we can sit there and we can say, well, listen, to get over this hurdle and to move in a productive way forward, I'm on your team and we want the same thing moving forward. Let's go at it together. A lot of the time, if you're trying to, I guess, harbor an outcome which is one-sided, or you're trying to mold a specific answer, then a lot of the time they basically see straight through you, and you look like you are talking shit. You come across as being conceited, and like people aren't stupid. Like people have ambition. People know when somebody's lying to them, or they know when somebody's hiding truth, or when they're trying to manipulate a human. And one thing as a mentor that you can never do is try to manipulate someone, and you can never try to do what's best for you in a way in which which gives them a negative outcome. So when it comes to confrontational conversations and having those shitty combos that everybody looks at in their diary and they're like, I'm really not looking forward to that meeting, or I'm not looking forward to that phone call, the best thing that I've experienced is just being upfront. It's a situation, and what will be. If you've got two smart people, if you've got two ambitious people in a room, then the outcome will get there inevitably. Let's just not sugarcoat it. Let's just go about it. It's eating the frog and just going ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I always think about, like when people try to, sugarcoat a shit sandwich is still a shit sandwich. Like you're just waiting for the penny to drop. So I appreciate that and you're not the first person to sort of echo that to me recently, in that, you can have the approach that you have with something, and that approach can be quite direct, as long as it's preceded with, hey, like I want to work with you on this, and we have the same intent moving forward, and I want to make sure we get the best outcome for both of us. So I appreciate that personally, because I think it's, sometimes you need to hear things a couple of times before you're like, okay, that's what I have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It resonates in that sense. And I guess the other important thing to it is when you go into those conversations, like I personally, I'll never go into a conversation which I know might have angst or might have some kind of resentment attached to it without having done my forward thinking and without having done my research. So if we're coming up against a situation, whatever that may be, I've got in my head solution A, B, C, and D that I'm ready to like express in that meeting or in that conversation. So it's never, listen, this is where we are, where this situation's fucked. It's very much this, and this is where we are, and here's 3 or 4 ways that we can get out of it together. Like how do you feel about these? Where do you see the holes? Here's where I see the holes. I can hear what you're saying, and listen, from my perspective, half of that's right and half of that's you just talking shit. It's very much a collaboration between 2 people, regardless of the hierarchy attached to it. And that's the only way to move forward. If there's ever any resentment of any kind of confrontational conversation or conflict, then you haven't got a true outcome. What you've got is a manipulated situation whereby one party walks away feeling like they've won and the other party walks away feeling like they're hard done by, and it's a matter of time before it blows up again. So I guess true progression and the way to kind of work through those things is transparency, honesty, and making sure that you've done your research moving forward. Like, don't hide behind anything. Like, we've all been in situations where we've had to hide behind certain phrases, certain conversations to hide our ego, to save our ego. It's just not worth it. It really isn't.
No, I love that. I appreciate that too. One thing I wanted to ask you, because I think you've done an exceptional job at seeing TMS be a thought process, and now I don't even know, how many staff do you have at the moment?
We've got around 13, soon to be a few more with the expansion upstairs. So yeah,
so you've been advertising on Seek.
Yes.
I had a look at that the other day. Obviously, we were in a similar position. I was like, oh,
yes.
Interesting. So I guess the question around that from me is, how have you fostered the culture that you have? Because I know, just knowing the humans that yourself and Luke, you're Luke, Aaron and Simon are, like, you guys are, quite cheeky, you like to run amok and have a little joke and whatnot. But outside of, that, what do you guys do either consciously or unconsciously to foster an incredible team and culture?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't necessarily, I don't think you're going to be wowed by the answer, because I imagine it's the same thing that you've done at Swift as well. When Simo, Az, and I started the business, we had a simple philosophy, and they'll probably be like, oh, you're on an important podcast, don't say stuff like this. But our philosophy at the start was, we don't want to work with wankers. We want to work with people that are inspired within the industry, that want to be in the industry, and that we want to rock up to work with and spend time with every day. And our kind of no dickhead approach from a recruitment standard has helped shape our culture. Like, we don't want people to come to work and have to put on their work mask and then when they leave, take that mask off. When we go through our interview process, when we go through our recruitment process, when we have interns in, when we hire staff, even our clients, we encourage them to be them. And if that's throwing banter on the gym floor, as long as it's respectful, we're about that. If it's staying quiet and kind of having your personal in jokes, then that's you. Then, like, we run with that. If it's being the loudest person on the gym floor, if it's being that practitioner that loves being on social media and getting their rig out and that type of thing, then by all means go for it. Like, every single person will attract their own type of people, and we wanted to harbor an environment where, like, people could come to work, they could enjoy it, they could excel in what they're doing because there's already a passion there. But we would cherish that instead of kind of trying to shape everybody the one way. I guess at TMS, yes, we've got standards. Yes, we make sure that we are up there with regards to leading the way in practice. Yeah, having said that, you can come in here and you can have one of our practitioners who's having a massive joke in the corner, and we've got Kendrick Lamar playing at full like bloody loud volume, and then the next minute you can come in and we've got our over 65 classes and they're all smiling and jumping around to a 1950s playlist or whatever the case is. So It sounds cliche, and I'm sorry, there's no magic bullet out there, but it really is just being smart with recruitment and not trying to force something that isn't there. I feel like that's probably something that Swift's done as well. I imagine that when we talk about Swift and when we get to know your practitioners and those types of things, we don't have a 100 little Zenias walking around. I imagine that we've got an environment that Zenia's created, and then everybody's just free to be themselves. And it's when you're comfortable in your own skin that you're going to excel, no matter what your profession is. So, like you see it in professional sporting organizations. Like, I'm an AFL nuffy, and you look at the change in the culture that's happened in the AFL over the past few decades. Back in the day, there used to be hazing, and everybody had to kind of form a straight line. And now it's all about embracing the individual, letting them be them, and like you see some phenomenal athletes and some phenomenal achievements. And it's the same in the workplace now. If you can encourage somebody and allow them to be who they want to be, then like from a business perspective, there's no better thing. You don't need to do anything. You just have to open doors every day, and people will be successful by themselves.
Yeah, no, I love that. And you're absolutely right. Like, I think, the people that I've ended up surrounding myself with personally and professionally are all like kind of the yin to my yang. And because I can be quite yang, I've got a lot of yin hanging around. So it's good because it's what I need. Not necessarily what I like all of the time, but I think that, if everyone was as direct and sort of like on this mission, and there's, you need that the different characters in an organization to make it thrive. And so finding those people who fill different areas of business or of life, I think, has been hugely beneficial, as opposed to being in this little like confined tank or whatever of similar thought processes where everyone thinks everything you do is amazing. So
exactly. And it's the way to grow as well. I mean, like, if you use TMS as a bit of an example, like we've got like as Simo and myself, we're three very different personalities. I guess those of you who have met any of us will know that we operate in different ways. We value different things in our personal lives. We harbor different relationships. But having said that, having that diversity, like it's helped us. Like if you think there's only one way to go about a certain task, no matter what that is, you're actually restricting yourself. Like, you might get close to what your gold standard of that one product may be, but you're cutting yourself off from the 90% of other options that are out there, and you cut yourself off to some fantastic people and processes. And it doesn't matter what kind of environment that you've had prior to those learnings. It's what you do from that step coming forward. And that's where I think that the three of us have been really, really successful, rather than looking at each other and being like, gee, Simo doesn't know what he's talking about, or geez, Az is full of shit today. It's been like, well, I still think that, but hey, he's successful doing what he's doing, and we can definitely make something happen. So the no dickhead policy is the big one that we run with.
Yeah, I love that. I've heard a similar variation of that too, where it's like, you have to want to go and have a beer with them and spend time with them outside of work. So, they don't have to be the same type of human as you, but you do want to like their company and enjoy them as people and want to learn more about them. And I think that's helped us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, at the end of the day, you spend the majority of your working life at work. Like, the majority of the time that you spend as an adult, you are coming into work, or you're working alongside people that aren't your family a lot of the time. So, like, if you can't stand them, or if you can't work next to them, then you're in for a hard bloody slog, and it's probably not the environment for you to be in. So you don't need to agree with everything, but find them interesting, find them like you said, if you're able to have a beer with them, then you're on a winner there, and it'll bring out the best in you in the long term as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I wanted to know, what do you think are your biggest challenges that you've worked through in your working career, and most importantly, what lessons have you learned from them?
Yeah, right.
Go on,
yes, I was going to say it's a change of pace. That's fine. And I guess to give you, and I want to give you a proper answer. The biggest challenge that I've had, well, let's say the two biggest challenges that I've had. One has been the ability to cipher through people's bullshit, if that makes sense. We're in an industry where, even though it's very technical and what we do is very like exercise specific, there's studies around things, the way in which it's packaged and the way in which it's presented to individuals varies, and it all depends on the type of person that's giving it to you. So I've been pitched some amazing opportunities. I've been pitched some. I've been put in some environments which, on surface level, seem fantastic, and I've had to learn for myself that sometimes things aren't always what they are cracked up to be. And that's not any fault of, I guess, other businesses or other individuals or other scenarios. It's more so my perception of what I thought it was going to be doesn't live up to reality. And being able to siphon that and be honest with myself and be like, hey, listen, this isn't what you thought it was. Hey, listen, this is something entirely different. That doesn't mean it's bad, but this isn't what you thought it was. What are you going to do about it? I think that a lot of people, and at times myself included, have fallen into the I'm comfortable where I am mode. And maybe I'm wrong about this, and I haven't necessarily backed myself in order to make a decision, which has been somewhat full on at the time, or hard to make at the time. So the ability to kind of read the situation that you're in, whether it be a client that you're working with, whether it be a relationship that you're forming, whether it be, I guess, an organization, a team, whatever the case may be, being honest with yourself about what you're getting out of this. That's been a big lesson that I've had to overcome. And it's one of the things that I've had to work on for my entire career. I've been a yes man. I've been somebody who wanted to please everybody. I've been somebody that would sacrifice their own time, would sacrifice basically anything that was dear to me to be able to please the person that was sitting in front of me. So the ability to kind of sit there and be like, I need to say no to this, and I need to understand the situation that's unfolding in front of me. That's been one of the biggest challenges for me. But the moment that I've started to recognize it, firstly, and secondly, started to, I guess, act on it, I've found that not only is business kind of improved and the situations that we put ourselves in improved exponentially, I've also just become a happier person, to be fair. I don't feel guilty for saying no now. I don't feel guilty for analyzing certain situations and understanding that they're not what I thought they would be, albeit they might still be a fantastic situation or organization. It's just not for me. So that's probably one key learning and one challenge that I've come across. And then I guess the other one, or something else that probably has come to more light as of late with myself, it's the ability to take in the now and to be present. I guess in our roles as business owners and as leaders and as mentors, it's very easy to get sucked into thinking, okay, what am I doing tomorrow, and not actually pay attention to the person that's sitting in front of me right now. It sounds cliche, so I'm sorry once again for all of the listeners that might be wanting some silver bullet, and it sounds like an old man fuddy-duddy kind of phrase, but you need to be present. You've got to appreciate what's happening now and then. Otherwise, like, you're going to get to the end of your career, you're going to get to the end of the year, the month, the week, whatever the case is, and you won't have appreciated it. You've missed all the fun in the journey. You've missed all of the learnings in the journey as well. And for me, as I said, the biggest influence that I've had on my career and how I've been able to get to where I am right now, it's been through others. Yes, I've studied. Yes, I've gone and I've done extra readings. I've met extra people. I've gone to conferences. I've done all of that. But the true growth has been me listening to people and learning from people. And if your mind is away with the fairies when you're sitting in front of someone, you're missing everything that's right there. And as of late, it's very much dawned on me that if I'm not present in a conversation, and if I'm not listening to the person that's right in front of me, then I might as well not even bloody be there. Like, I'm not better than the person that's sitting in front of me. I'm not more important than the person sitting in front of me. Give them the time of day and stop being a bit of a wanker. It's that's been my main learnings, especially as of late.
I love that. It reminds me of, you said have fun and enjoy the moment and things like that. And I don't know how much of what you've seen I've been doing recently, but I have two business mentors because obviously one's not enough. And my newest business mentor, I paid a fortune literally to be a part of this 12-month thing, but it was for the things that you said earlier as to like to be the dumbest in the room again. And I felt like I got comfortable in these rooms that I had, gotten to a point where I wasn't experiencing as much growth as I really wanted to be. And so I remember sitting next to, before I signed up, I was sitting next to this woman who owned this agriculture company, and we had to write down how much we would like our business to make in the next year. And she wrote down $70 million. And I was like, oh, I think I'm in the right room now. Like, I was like, shit, like these are the kind of people that I probably want to be surrounding myself with, not because of the dollar figure associated with that, because I'd be spending the whole day with her talking about things. And she was an older lady who was a little bit nervous, and she was like, oh, you have so much drive and passion. And I was like, bro, your numbers are huge. So, learning different things from different people was a huge like wake up moment. But in terms of the fun aspect, we, on our most recent business immersion, we went to Movie World. And that wasn't the whole immersion, but the cool thing about that was there was present moment in that of like, we had like this little, they called it a passport. We had to like stamp off these things to do. And one was to make someone else laugh. And one was to do something that scares you and all these sorts of things. And one was to help someone else. And I remember we got given like these little ice cream vouchers, and I was like, I don't really want my voucher. My boyfriend didn't want his either. I was like, let's go find some kids and give our vouchers to these kids. And so I think, if we're grinding into the ground and we're doing this stuff for business, and obviously we love it, but if we don't stop to appreciate what it means to us and how we can then give back or support other people, whether it's emotionally through our leadership skills or whether it's giving a kid an ice cream, I think that's kind of like why we do it, I feel.
No, absolutely. You're spot on. And like, for everybody out there that's been in a situation, or they're listening or watching this and they're like, this guy's full of shit, this is all just airy fairy. Like I trust me, I 100% understand. It's very easy for me to sit here and say, and for you then to say, listen, have fun in the moment and that type of thing. But in the back of your mind, you're like, yeah, but I've still got to make 5, 10, $50,000 next week, or I have this debt coming up, or I've got this big meeting that I need to plan for. Like, reality is I can't just drop everything and have fun right here and now. Like, I get that. Trust me, I'm in a constant state of I need to do this, and I'm stressed about that, and this shit hasn't been done right. But it hasn't been until I've started to be like, well, listen, that stressor, that commitment, that issue that's playing on in my head, that's going to be here in 2 hours time. I can't do anything about it right now, but what I can do is I can sit here and I can give Zen an hour and a half of my time. I can sit here and give this person an hour and a half of my time and actually learn something from them. Like, my issues are still going to be there. The dramas of the world aren't going anywhere. As much as I'd love for them to just go away, like, they're still there. But there's no reason for me to be disrespectful and not give the person that's sitting in front of me that time. And that's where you get that enjoyment. And I think that the lessons that you can find in those conversations and in those little bits of joy, like you said, whether it's giving an ice cream to someone at Movie World, or whether it's sitting in front of someone and actually just listening to their issues and making life a bit easier for them. Like, yeah, sounds cliche. Yeah, sounds soft and fuzzy and all that type of thing. But like, guys, I challenge you to do that. And you wait. It picks yourself up. It makes you a better person, and it evens you out from a mental perspective, at least. So, yeah. And just on that, one of the other things that you said there was, you went that conference, and yes, we do watch. We make sure that we keep an eye on all of our friends out there in the business world. That the 12-month course that you did, I think that you want to touch on, I guess, challenges that small businesses have, and some that I've had, and I imagine that you would have been in the same boat. It's one of the big things, as well as that I've found, is the minute that you're comfortable. Our philosophy, and probably more specifically my philosophy as a business owner, is the minute that you're comfortable, then you're in trouble. Like, if you find yourself comfortable, albeit a sole trader who operates part-time, or you are a business owner with multiple businesses, the second that you're sitting your come your work and you are comfortable in what you're doing, then you have missed the boat, my friend. You have not taken a risk, or it's time to take a risk, because the only way to get growth is to get out of that zone. So I'm glad you brought that up before as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, growth is my highest value. And so, I mean, that's pretty obvious based on the things that I do and the actions I take and who I surround myself with. But, you know, like the fact that sitting next to someone who wants to make $70 million excites me rather than terrifies me probably shows that I'm a different type of human. But
Mate,
I
you
think
haven't changed. How good.
yeah, I think you're in the same boat. I think that's why we get along so well.
Absolutely.
Are you doing business mentoring at the moment? I heard whispers a couple of years ago that was a thing. Talk to me about
Yes, I am. So it's not something that I advertise, and it's not something that I try to make money off or a profit out of. But when I get the opportunity to sit down, and it's purely by referral, when I get the opportunity to sit down with some individuals and they ask for help or they ask for some advice, then it's not so much being a yes man. It's very much of I'm interested in the person more so than I am with the situation or the add-ons that are involved. I love it. To be fair, I'm working with I think 4 or 5 businesses right now, and some of them have been in long established businesses for a long time, and I'm able to sit there and kind of be a fly on the wall and give some opinion and give some bias to I guess the movement in their businesses. And others I've been with from a startup right through to the successes that they are now. So I absolutely love it. It's a passion of mine, and more so being able to see, I guess, people who I'm invested in, and that's more so what it is. I'm invested in the people, being able to see them grow and overcome challenges and do the types of things like we've spoken about today. Like, absolutely, I'm all about that. So each person or each business that I work with, they have their own individual, I guess, agenda that we go through. They have their own individual process. I don't blanket anything. It's not like, righto, here is rule 1, step 1. We work through this and then we go to rule 2, step 2, or modules or anything like that. It is very much what is your business and how can we make it better? How can we make it great?
That's awesome. I love that. And so is the reason that you haven't dived into that deeper because your primary focus is the movement standard?
Probably yes and no. I think I know a long-term vision for myself is to work with people on a more frequent basis, whether that is working with them on individual goals they might have. It might be business goals that they have, or it might just be businesses that are after another opinion or some help with some trajectory stuff. I guess a reason that I haven't advertised it or launched it is because I'm always learning. It's important for me to value my time right now and spending time around my mentors and making sure that I'm across everything that I need to be across for me is a priority. And secondly, my business right now, the movement standard, we are much the same as yourself, Zen. We're experiencing some really good growth. So I want to be able to give my time and my focus to my staff and to my business and make sure that they're looked after as well. But having said that, as I said, it's a passion like that and footy. But I can sit here and talk business and football all day. So the moment that I kind of sit down with somebody and get that little inkling that they're passionate about their business and this is where they've started and this is where they're going and that type of stuff, then I can't help myself but want to get involved. So long term, it's definitely going to be more of what I do from a day-to-day basis. But right now it's just managing and prioritizing my time where best fit.
Yeah. And I think, like I jumped into it in terms of business mentoring, I would say quite early versus my trajectory. Obviously, I'd been working in the industry as a sole trader for 6 years and owned my own business for 2 at that point. But I still feel like I was so early. However, I was like, you know what? People are asking me for coffees really often and everyone wants to hear what I have to say. And it sounds like some of the stuff I have to say, they really appreciate. So maybe I could formalize this and those who pay attention. So I guess that's where it evolved for me. In terms of the
just on that, Zen, just on that, like people follow success and once again, as I said at the start, this isn't an ego stroking chat or anything like that, but like you've done exceptionally well. Like people are drawn to success and at the end of the day, people are always going to look for, and what I found, people look for mentors through this person's been through this person's experienced that. And I want some form of what they've got. So I think that, like you said, that you've delved into it relatively early in your career. You would say that you're early in your career, and don't get me wrong, like you're still young, you're still like millions and millions and millions of dollars for you to make, and massive, I guess, growth for you to have. But you've also been through a lot, and I'm sure that you won't mind me saying on this, like you've overcome some challenges yourself, and there's been some really trying times in both business and in your own personal stuff that you've had to overcome, and I've seen you do that from the side, and I've been super impressed. So I wouldn't underestimate, I guess, the fact that you're doing all of this business mentoring. Like it's not just your business acumen that people are after. They want your successes, and they want your personality. They want your passion, and I think that's what's made you so successful. And yeah, I think that's why people are drawn to it. So it's not just your education, mate. Don't give yourself that out there, right? Yeah.
Thank you. I don't know how to take compliments, so I'm just going to move on. Thank you is thank you. Thank you is all I've got. The thing that I wanted to ask you was, so I guess that's more business side of stuff. I know that obviously there's a huge push where we work together in terms of education from a technical standpoint. I would love you to explain what the process is, or what people would experience coming and working at TMS in terms of their outside of just taking clients. Because I know that a lot of people, especially new in their careers, is kind of who you attract, and obviously same with us, because they are ambitious and they want to learn, and they will look for education, understanding that the value in that over this huge pay packet where they're just by themselves doing everything. So what do you provide your team with in terms of technical upskilling, and how have you fostered the growth of your team?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, and I don't mean this to sound blunt, but everybody graduates university with perceivably the exact same education. And so when we're sitting in front of a new grad, then we're dealing with somebody who has the same technical expertise as the other 100 people that may have graduated in their year level on paper. What we provide is, and once again, I've got to give a shout out, as reluctant as I am to do it, but I've got to give a shout out to my two business partners. Like we've got Aaron, who's just a fantastic educator. He's one of the most passionate EPs, along with yourself, that I know. So he doesn't educate or develop from a technical perspective because he has to. He does it because he's good at it, and he actually gets enjoyment out of it. Like the people that come through our doors get that. They get passion. They get somebody who's not going to be like, this is written in a textbook, so I'm just going to spew it back out to our guys. They get, well, this is written in a textbook, I'm going to challenge this theory, and I'm going to go about it. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to challenge whoever's sitting in front of me to go and to prove us wrong, to prove that wrong. And we get passionate development. I don't know whether I'm highlighting that enough, but the way that Aaron goes about our technical education is just phenomenal. Like very rare that you sit in front of somebody and you're actually captivated by something or something that can be as dull as I guess a technical development, but he makes it fun. And I think that what that does is the people that we sit in front of as well, and the people that he's mentoring to and developing their passions, and it allows them to come out of their shell and actually get really involved in whatever the topic is. And then we've got Simo, who, for those of you who don't know Simon, he's a different human. He's very personable. He's had a life of experiences, and the way that he goes about, I guess, allowing our new grads and even allowing the guys that have been in the industry for 10, 20 years to come in and be themselves. He has a way of bringing out, I guess, the passion in people and the commitment in people. What we're really lucky with and how we go about our development and our mentoring really goes back to that kind of cliche shit that I said at the start. It's providing an environment for that person to be the best that they can. And from a development perspective, like we're not sitting here being like, this is the only clientele and the only way that you have to treat this. This is the only way to go about this problem. It's, well, how would you go about this? Tell me what's right with this. Tell me what's wrong with this. Have you tried A, B, C, and D? And then we like to challenge. We aren't yes men. So when you sit in front of us, we don't sit there and nod and say, well done. We sit there and say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Go away and try this again. And we like to challenge answers and challenge the individual. And at the end of the day, it makes them a better practitioner. And in some cases, it helps them develop as a human as well.
Yeah, I love that. And obviously, like, having been around Aaron, and we, I think, graduated at the same time and sort of came up through the ranks, like probably butting heads quite a lot, but also challenging each other to be better. And it was probably that competitiveness within us as well. You know, I really love, you know, Aaron's approach. And, you know, I just want to highlight that you've mentioned all of the passion and all of it, but like, he's fucking exceptional at what he does. And, I know
Careful,
that
I can literally feel his head growing from here.
He's like popping in the side of the screen.
Yes.
No, but like, just I've never seen someone who will, you know, and I do this to an extent too, but Aaron is next level in terms of like, he will research down to the you know, the final literature, like the sentence, the whole research paper, and pull it apart. And I love that it is heavily evidence-based, but with the most critical perspective on it that you could possibly get, of always asking why. And, you know, it's right. Like what I think, you know, both Swift and the Movement Standard do really well would be that the education and the technical skills that you learn can't be learnt not only through a textbook, but not even at university. Like, I'm sure you've had every uni student be like, wow, I learnt more in my 6 weeks than my whole degree. And you're like, well, fuck, why didn't you come here on day one? So
I'm earlier, yes.
So yeah, I think, you know, in terms of, you can't foster that learning in any better way other than a blend of obviously understanding the theory, but actually like getting in the gym, moving through it, like challenging positions, getting the staff or the team to try it out and actually feel what it feels like, so that they have gone through that too. And I know you guys are huge on that with your development. So I guess I would just love to say, if anyone does get an opportunity to do prac placement, and, you know, Milton in Brisbane is close enough, or you're willing to even relocate to get some experience, you will not be disappointed.
And like I said, Aaron will be stoked that you've said that, and I like that. I like that you put you guys in the same category. So for those of you who don't know Aaron, very, very similar to Zen, and they will probably never admit it face to face or anything like that. And I've been privy to some battles that the two have had, but all the battles come from passion. And literally, like, Simo and I have been in situations where we just sit back and be like, let's just see how this shit unfolds, and literally just watch them go at each other. But we spoke about intent earlier on today. It comes from a place of positive intent, and it comes from a place of passion. At the end of the day, like, that's the type of mentor that you want. You want someone like Az, you want someone like Zen, like, you want somebody who isn't just going through the motions. You want somebody who wants to know why and then wants to challenge why. Like, that's who you're going to learn from. Like, you're not going to become better by just maintaining the status quo. Find a mentor, find somebody like Az, like Zen, who will go that extra level, who won't just accept the base standard answer, because that's where the brilliance comes from. That's where your future endeavors come from. That's where the environments that you actually get growth out of come from. And you might have to shop around. It's not going to be the first person that you sit in front of. Like, shit, Zen, I don't know how many people that you probably have to say no to from a mentoring perspective. I know how many people are vying for time with Simo and with Az and with myself, but like, guys, stay persistent with it. Make sure that you find that person, and when you do, like, hassle the shit out of them. Like, get what you need out of them. Like, they will do it. Like, at the end of the day, they'll do it because they love it. So I've seen that. You and Az are the same from that. Like, it's been very interesting to watch.
I love that. Hey, just before we go, what I'd love to know is, you mentioned earlier about a bit of an expansion. I want to know what's coming up for the Movement Standard. What can we expect?
So this is the sneaky plug time. I like it. So TMS, like, we've been much the same as yourself. We're pretty close to the same length of tenure. So we've been going for 4 years now, or just about 4 years. So right now we own about 400 square meters in Milton, and we've recently just doubled in size overnight. So we're actually a little bit more than that. So we've taken an additional kind of 500 square meters directly above us. And the plans for that are we're essentially turning into a bit of an acute rehab phase, or an acute rehab set out. So and just by taking that extra space, what we're being able to do is we're expanding our existing gym floor. We're being able to expand, I guess, the relationships that we have from both a sporting perspective, which is I guess a bit of a niche that we've fallen into with regards to some of the relationships that we've been able to harbour, but also kind of that NDIS and acute care realm. So directly above us, we're going to be increasing our capacity for physio, increasing our capacity for R&T. Dietetics is a massive thing that we value. That's going to be a greater service for us moving forward. We're fitting out a mini gym upstairs as well, so that that physios can kind of get their hands on some gym equipment now, and they're not fighting all of the EPs and the ESs on our gym floor for it. So it's an exciting time for us, because obviously with more space comes more opportunity, and we have a need for that next level of practitioner to come through, and now we've got the facility to be able to cater for it. And to be fair, I guess the bigger the environment that we can have in terms of square meter, the more kind of TMS practitioners and the more TMS that we can put out there. And I guess what we need right now is more exercise, is more practitioners. It's allied health, it's healthy living. And once again, I sound like I'm just fucking ringing off cliches right now, but that's what we're about. And there's some pretty big events coming up in Brizzy and in Queensland over the coming years as well, Olympics and the expansion of sport. So we've seen an opportunity, and we've decided to run with it. So definitely we weren't getting comfortable, and this is definitely not we're not comfy as it sits, but no, there's some pretty big things to come for us.
I love that. And I think, it comes back to the motto of the movement standard of live well, load well, and the way that you do one thing is the way you do everything. And so, the not getting comfy and fostering that in your team, fostering that in yourself, fostering that in your clients. I think that's pretty evident by what you do. So I just want to say thank you for all of the time that you spent today, and also just the last 8 years of support, either on the sidelines or previously quite involved in what was going on. Because I'm not going to say that I wouldn't have been where I am without you, but I think that you played a pivotal role in that, and I appreciate it a lot.
No, thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm glad that you didn't give me too much credit there, because I think that your successes are a testament to what you've done, mate. So the same to you. Like, well done on what you've done so far, but it's just the start for you then, and I think that anybody that knows you or knows of Swift knows that. So very excited to see the next chapter, and I'm sure you'll keep us on our toes over here as well.
Thanks so much, Luke. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, then. See you later.
Bye. If you enjoyed this episode, it'd honestly mean the world to us if you could share it with a friend or on your socials, follow and leave a quick review so that we can bring you more real, raw and uncensored stories from industry leaders. We also love hearing your feedback, so please DM us on Instagram at Swift Coaches Academy if you have suggestions for future guests or topics. Until next time, and in whatever you do, move swiftly.